Welcome to Blind Shovel, an arts and music podcast. Today I interviewed Dang Wayne Olsen, a very psychedelic and trippy fine artist, a very good basketball player. We met many years ago in the Bay Area, and we immediately clicked. Enjoy. Yo.
Hello.
What's up, dude?
How are you?
I'm good. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
How long?
Jeez, did I have a kid when the last time I saw you?
I never met your child. How old is your kid?
She just turned 3 this week.
Wow.
Yeah. So probably almost 3 years, maybe.
Yeah, you still, I remember you were like managing property.
No, I ain't
No,
there.
that's over?
Yes.
Good.
That was bad.
You didn't like that, no.
No.
So yeah, what's up with the kid? Tell me about that.
Well, she's a girl named Goldie.
Uh-huh.
And she is pretty great, you know. She's got a crazy imagination, and she's just talks all the time, and
Nice.
yeah.
How's that impacted making art for you, having a child? This is a very important question to me right now.
Oh, okay. You think about getting one?
Yeah, getting one, just picking one up.
Yeah.
Well, it's like a really interesting, I had interviewed my friend Jesse Fillingham, who just had his first kid. I think the child's only, 3 months old. And I'm just curious about that dynamic of being an artist, which is rather egocentric, and being a parent, which should be the opposite, and finding time to keep making art and not viewing it as the end of that life, your own artistic life.
Yeah. So that would be bad.
That'd be horrible.
Yeah, it'd be awful. I think it's different for like different phases. Like,
For sure.
3 months, you're kind of in it. Your mind's kind of like just loosey goosey. You're in like baby land.
Yeah.
Like I was lucky because my wife was like, super mom. So she was really great about just letting me keep, maintaining my practice,
Mm-hmm.
And then over time, it's like, you get more time, and then you're just back to normal again with just a kid running around.
Yeah. Do you feel like the time is more precious? You work more efficiently?
Yeah. Yeah.
You use it more wisely?
Yeah, it's definitely. If you don't use it wisely, you regret it. And then you're like, I got to wait till next time.
Yeah, every moment has meaning, it seems like, once you have a kid. You don't need to have a kid for that to happen, but it certainly forces the issue.
Yeah, even the other way around, spending time with her is like way meaningful. And then it makes your art more meaningful too, I think.
Yeah, I see you're making plenty of work in the last 3 years, it looks like. Yeah,
definitely. Well, the pandemic really.
True.
That was kind of like, awful it was. It was like kind of a blessing, just because I get to hang out with her all day, and then I lost my job, and I just went fully into this. So it's probably uptick in the production.
You plan on having more children?
Wow, good question. It's a topic that is discussed quite a bit.
Makes sense. At around 3, I'm sure that people start thinking that through.
Yeah. People really are planning it out. Like they go, 2 year, two at 2 is like, well, we should have another kid. So they're like, I think 2 years apart is like what you ideally want. You would want them at, but I don't know if that matters.
Apparently, I don't know. My sibling who's closest is 4 years older, but I don't know how much my parents were planning, to be frank. I think we plan the collective we a lot more now in terms of children. I think my parents were just having kids. They had 5 boys.
Yeah, just letting them rip.
Yeah.
Are you the youngest?
Yeah, I'm the youngest. And I think I follow like the behavioral patterns of the youngest,
Yeah.
They have a lot to say about that psychologically. But I am the youngest, very fortunate to learn. In some ways, I look at my 4 older brothers and I get to see what's going right and wrong, like they're guinea pigs. But sometimes that can lead to like a hesitation, like not having the naivete or faith just to do the damn thing in respect to marriage or children.
Oh, yeah, I see that.
You can overthink that. I think too much.
Sure. Well, yeah. I mean, they're big commitments. So
Massive,
I guess,
massive.
yeah, you would want to think about it a little bit.
A little bit, no doubt. But you think it's synergistic though, like having a child and making art? I mean, the work looks better. It looks like it's getting better and it continues to get better. And I don't know if that's a consequence of having a child, but I'm sure you're learning things at a much more condensed rate.
Yeah. It's also a lot of like now I have someone that she has to survive. And
True.
I have to like somehow facilitate that survival. So I just think, I got to make some good stuff.
Is that where the tarot deck is born out of here? This dream tarot?
I started that like the week before she was born.
Well,
and yeah, I think so. I just wanted like a project that was long.
for sure. Like a child.
Like a child, yeah.
I always talk about that with social media. It's like that'll get your sprinter muscles good, like quick work, getting it up there, getting the satisfaction. But it will definitely diminish your long distance running ability in terms of like 10-year project. But a child is like an art project that never ends. It sounds like.
Yeah, it's the long haul. And it's like at a certain point, right now it's like, well, I can just like show her stuff, but she's into what she's into.
Yeah.
And it's like I can't like, dissuade her out of certain things. So I just have to like go along with what she's into.
I think good art might behave that way, process wise.
Well, yeah, hopefully like collaborations at least,
Yeah, I mean, I don't make art in the way where I feel like I know what I'm going to make. In other words, I don't make propaganda.
Oh, yeah. That's good.
You know what I mean? I'm like, and that's tricky. That's tricky in this age in which, like there's this direct 1-to-1 correlation with what you make and what you're morally or politically responsible for. I think that's pretty restrictive and not generally a good view. But same thing with a child. Like there must be a period where you're like, I mean, they're going to go off and do whatever the hell they want to do, good or bad. And people correlate it to parents. I mean, parenting definitely has an impact, but I think there's some brutal truths at play there where it's like, some things are definitely beyond your control. I would assume having a kid teaches you that pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm. I think the main thing is like, well, like, you grow up and you're like indoctrinated with all the stuff that your parents tell you, or like, or however you grew up in whatever system. But if I could somehow plant the idea that all that is kind of bullshit while still maintaining some type of, you know, parental influence. I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
like
yeah.
that's the sweet spot I'm kind of aiming for.
Yeah, you're trying to be exposing authority's weakness while being an authority on the matter.
It's tricky.
Yeah, it's very tricky. It's very tricky because, like, yeah, I mean, you are the guiding force, so there's a hierarchy there. You're imparting some knowledge that they don't quite yet have, at least from how I see it. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's accurate, but
I mean, they're pretty resistant,
oh
at
yeah,
least to
yeah.
most things. So, I mean, maybe that's just like, just let them be. Maybe we should just be way hands off.
It's tricky.
Yeah.
I can't speak. I haven't done it, and even when you do it once, you can't even really. That's the funny thing about it. I mean, my mom and dad had 5 kids. I don't even know if they would be so brazen to say that they're the authority on how this or that kid should be raised. It's not like a machine.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
You figured it out.
there's really no authority. But
Yeah.
I have heard like for parents who have like more than one, like the first one's kind of like the test run. It's like, the other one's like, well, they just kind of do what they do.
What about the fifth one?
I'm guessing you probably had it pretty easy.
Oh, yeah. I think I did. I think I got the most condensed, compressed parenting possible. They knew when to be there, when not to be there, because they saw what worked and what didn't. So that's what I'm saying. I'm fortunate.
Yeah.
That's you. You have any siblings?
I do. I have like a stepbrother and 2 half brothers. So I went from being like an only child to being a middle child.
Right. That's complicated. So how are you sustaining this situation? You said you quit your job, the one we were talking about?
Yeah, but I left that one to move to where we are now, which is Pasadena. And I was working at a float place, like a
oh yeah, that's where I saw you. Yeah, that may have been the last time I saw you. Was when the only time I've ever done a sensory deprivation float.
Oh yeah, how'd you like it?
I liked it, but it was expensive, and I guess if it was free, I would do it a lot. But I've been doing ice baths, and I'm quite content with that as a solution, a cheap solution.
Oh yeah, I like the cold showers.
Mm-hmm. But there's nothing like a bath.
Nothing.
You got to do the bath.
Just sitting in it.
Oh, it's Wim Hof. I very much love that man.
Yeah,
he's beautiful.
He is.
So what happened after the deprivation?
Well, COVID, that had to shut down because it's like
you're floating in fluids.
Yeah, I was floating in an enclosed tank.
Oh, that sucks. Didn't even think about that. That sucks.
So everyone pretty much got let go. They're open again now, which is great. They survived it.
Nice.
But after that I was just like, oh, I really gotta jam on this stuff and try to come up with some gigs.
So that's been working out.
It has. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean, we're still here.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you're selling Sculpey frogs on the website. Sold out.
Yep. Had about 5 of them.
That's $60 right there.
There you go. So that was like a couple meals, and then yeah, just doing whatever to get
Nice.
by.
When did we meet? Do you remember?
Oh, we met
That's a
in
tough
Oakland.
one. We definitely met in Oakland. I want to say we met at that spot. Maybe we were having a show. That's probably where we met. And then I think we just naturally hit it off. I think you were having a show at that skate spot. I really don't recall the name of.
Oh yeah, Session Space.
Yeah, because I used to work at Pepple's. It was right over there. Pepple's Donuts.
Oh, you worked at the donut shop?
Yeah, that was the last, what I would call real job I had, a dishwasher.
Nice.
And then, yeah, that's like when I started making comics around that time, same time. And, yeah, that was a hell of a time. I don't miss Oakland. Frankly, I don't miss California, but I'm from New Jersey. So I think it's only natural that I came back here and found, I suppose, what I was looking for.
Oh yeah, it's good to go and journey.
Are you from California?
No, I'm from Ohio.
Oh, I forgot this detail.
Yeah, Toledo, Ohio.
Wow.
So I don't foresee myself going back there.
Yeah, some of us. I mean, that's a rougher hand. New Jersey's pretty nice, honestly, especially when I'm like 20 minutes from New York City if I really wanted that.
Yeah.
But Toledo, I don't know much about, but
Well,
from
really close to Detroit.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't want to I love Toledo.
Yeah.
It's cheap. They got some strange politics.
Mm-hmm.
But it's in the middle of the country, so I guess that's what it is.
Yeah. And how did you arrive? I don't know if you share this information. How did you arrive at Dang?
It was like a progression of from Dan and Danny.
Oh, you're a Daniel?
Yeah. To Dano. To Danzo.
Okay.
To Dango.
Oh, this is a long.
It was like, yes.
Very long. Do you do tarot readings?
Yeah, I've been doing them a lot more recently. It's been pretty great. It takes me a second to you see people, they like flip it over and they're like instantly rambling some stuff off at you.
Mm-hmm.
But I do it in a way where it just takes a second for me to really see what the connections are, I guess. So I'm a little slow, but
you doing that for yourself or others?
I've been doing it for others. Just started to more recently doing it for others, like within the last week, actually.
With your own deck?
Yeah.
Do you do that digitally or physically? Like, do you do it remotely?
I can.
I mean, that's a cool angle. I like that idea. You make the deck, you do the readings. That's interesting.
Yeah. I tried to do a couple readings like a while ago without knowing like the technological side and they're awful. I was like,
what do you mean?
Like some like on Zoom or something.
Yeah.
Like you move left, but it moves right. I don't know. I couldn't focus on anything, and I was starting to sweat. It was just
This is what Zoom? That's the consequence of Zoom?
Yeah, I think so.
Never heard those symptoms.
Yeah,
I like that.
I don't talk to many folks with through the computer, so I'd like to learn. I'd like to get better
at Zooming.
Yeah, I think it's probably an easy thing to do, but
I mean, it's strange. In reality, it's pretty strange. I think a tarot reading would ideally be in person, but I just think that's an interesting angle, like to introduce people to your cards and their language. And it's just the major arcana, or you did all of them?
I did all of them.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
How long did that take?
It took about 2.5 years. I did some cards I like did multiple takes of, and then at the end, like that amount of time, the ones you did in the beginning, you're like, wow, these don't even fit at all. So I ended up doing around 100 cards.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they're all painted, like I think 7x12.
Yeah, they look clean.
Yeah. Then I had to digitally do some stuff on them, which took a little more time. But
Did you have like apprehension about interpreting such loaded and historically weighted symbols, or you just don't give a fuck?
No, I gave a pretty big fuck.
Yeah. It sounds daunting.
Yeah, it's at first I thought, oh, I'll just make it and I'll just like copy, kind of do my own riff on whatever the rider weight deck.
Yeah.
And I was like, nah, I've got to learn a little bit more. And then that just took me in the whole wormhole of like, I got really into like Crowley's Thoth deck, and most of the interpretations are based on that deck. There's so many decks and so many different variances on the meanings, and some are like contradictory. So I just had to kind of go with what my gut said.
Yeah, I feel like the first time I saw the tarot and read some books on it, I started thinking about how much weight symbols could have a lot differently, especially symbols that were inherited. Typically before that, I was just using which is ridiculous, but I thought of it as my own vernacular, which of course was not true. But yeah, with tarot, it's almost trying to communicate. I don't know. There's so much depth to the symbols and the way they relate. I think it changed the way I thought about drawing. I don't know if you can relate to that, like moving from a personal symbology to something much bigger, even if you don't have direct correlation to what those things mean specifically.
Oh yeah, you're like participating in it.
Right.
Yeah, I feel that. I was just listening to something the other night about these guys were talking about tarot on this podcast, and they're saying, don't even just look at the cards and what they feel like to you. Just look at the symbols and let them speak to you. Then, looking at the book and reading like what it means or whatever. Yeah, because it's like beyond words what the symbols are.
Right. Let it talk back.
Yeah.
I think for me, that's the interesting thing. Good art should in some sense be like making a child. It's not just a product or object that is secreted, but it's a thing that should keep talking back in different ways over time, indefinitely, and have enough life contained within it that it can basically grow. A lot of art that's bad, and I'm sure I've made it, is just either it's just a wall, just a cube that you can't penetrate and doesn't give anything back to you.
Yes, I agree with you there.
Yeah, but I think early in like when you're in your 20s, that's pretty natural to not be able to imbue the art with anything lively.
Yeah, it's like a magical process. You're putting your energy into something that's going to contain it.
Oh yeah, I mean, that magical process is the only reason I think I was re-imbued with a certain liveliness in respect to being raised Catholic, then going your standard kind of quote unquote atheist, scientific materialist route as a reaction in high school. And then I happened to draw my way out of that back to, I would say, Christianity in a mystical way. But in a way I realized, like, oh wow, these mundane things are super magical, and it gave all of life that feeling. And I'm sure having a child is very magical, but I don't think it's talked about like that. I think it's often reduced to a very crude materialism that I personally dislike. And I dislike when art is talked about like that. Like, it's just kind of remixing culture, which I don't quite believe it to be that.
Yeah. I mean, on one level, it's like, okay, you're passing your DNA along and you're keeping alive this human chain, which is amazing in itself, you know?
Yes.
And then, but this like, they're living beings that are like, you're just living with this crazy channel of, I don't know what they're channeling, you know? It seems like she's like talking about, I don't know if she has like past lives or something, but she's got such a imagination and like this whole world. She's got this imaginary friend, Mono, that was like her sister.
Mm.
I don't know where she comes up with this stuff, but it's like, you really have to like respect this person as like, it's their own thing, you know? They're not like a possession or like an object.
No. I mean, if it were to be an object or a product, it would be quite the raw deal in terms of how much time you had to put into it, you know?
Yeah.
If you don't see the beauty, I could see it as being a treacherous path, just a burden, you know? I
just think it's funny how like some people compare like, you know, their car or their boat. Like that's my baby there.
That's interesting. I never thought about it. Like, maybe they're imbuing the object, if we're being like giving them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they revere it so much they're giving it that what we were talking about earlier, that ability to talk back to them, you know? I've had that relationship with a car before, so I think I might get it. But again, I haven't had a kid, so.
Yeah. I guess people can do whatever they want. They could say whatever they want, you know?
Of course.
Anything can be your baby.
That's a good tagline. That's a good shirt. Yeah, what were you raised? Anything in particular? Christian? Atheist?
I didn't have any of that.
Really?
My mom only says I was baptized Catholic by a Monsignor, so that makes me Catholic.
Okay.
And that was the extent of it. We never went to church. We never like talked about it. We didn't like read the Bible or anything.
Yeah, it's interesting from the perspective of these symbol structures. Like, I used to resent it a bit, but maybe because I thought it's a pretty weighty thing to have on your shoulders if you take it seriously as a child. You know, I took hell very seriously.
Sure.
And I actually think it probably made me more creative, because just imagining hell is a exercise that really summons a lot of imagery. But, you know, thinking about the tarot, and I've been thinking about what, you know, raising a child devoid of these kind of symbol structures or any symbol structure, and kind of just telling them like, oh, Santa doesn't exist, and You just need to know facts, and that's it. I think Montessori, if I'm correct, is almost like that, where they don't read books with any fantasy elements. They only think about like what can exist. That's a very interesting decision a parent has to make more and more in a conscious way, because there's not like one culture we exist in where they're absorbing it, just by existing. So now we're imposing a symbol structure, and I'm sure it could be almost tempting for you to build that symbol structure as you are building this tarot for her in some ways, or at least participate in it with her. I don't know if she draws a lot.
Yeah, she draws. Yeah, she's getting more and more into drawing. But yeah, like with the holidays or whatever, I mean, I could see like, Christmas, Easter, like they're just like trying to sell products or whatnot. But those like stories are pretty rad, like where Santa Claus came from, and
oh yeah,
eating mushrooms and feeding reindeer mushrooms and.
Yeah, I think that I used to think the solution was abandoning those things, and then I realized, well, you'll pretty much just end up with no demarcation of like a sacred day or a important day. So now I try to respect that while refining or revising it. I would agree that aesthetically, modern Christianity is pretty bankrupt and uninteresting. I don't know where that comes from, but I'm kind of interested in like, how could you make those things appealing again without just throwing them out?
Isn't that the Talladega Nights movie?
I don't know. What do you mean?
I don't know. It just seems like just that opening scene where they're all eating Taco Bell and Doritos, and that they're like talking about baby Jesus. I don't know what America's doing right now, but that seemed like a good slice of it, like whenever that came out.
I admit I don't recall that scene.
It's so long ago. I don't know why it popped in my head.
Yeah, that question of, I don't know, I think about that a lot. The symbols that the child's raised around and within. Even if they don't understand it, I just think kids should have potent magical symbols. I don't know which ones, but they have plenty of time to become jaded and overly scientific and overly empirical. That's what high school and that whole phase is for, I think.
Yeah, I think they mostly will come up with their own.
Yeah.
Their own magic, which I think like there's some, unconscious drive to like give objects, more meaning than what they are, which is, I think it's a human thing. I don't know why you'd want to suppress it.
I don't know either. I think it stems from that idea that is a lie or a illusion that is of no benefit. Like same way people might talk about a hallucination as an unreal event, as a deviation from normalcy, instead of acknowledging that it really happened for that person. It may not apply the same way as like a law of physics in that way, but it's real. It certainly happened for them. Yeah. And it's a weird, I think it's a fear that seeks to get rid of that. And you're right. You would have to if you actively let a child be themselves, they will be magical. If you want to crush that for whatever reason, you can do that as well. And I don't know why you would. Go ahead.
A lot of crushers out there.
I know.
A lot of people want to crush some dreams.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
I don't know. Yeah, no. I mean,
maybe it's jealousy.
A bad guy. Maybe. Yeah, maybe it is.
Because children are pretty intimidatingly magical at times. And you're like, God damn.
Stop this magic now. That's true. I mean, but, it's like metaphysics, like, they talk about stuff that's bonkers. No one knows what's going on, and like to think that science has any answers, and they're always being like totally changed all the time.
Yeah.
So
there's no static truth to be found there.
yeah, everything's like just a wiggle jiggle. So
a wiggle jiggle. Yeah, I mean, I see that in your art. A lot of wiggles.
A lot of jiggles. Bit of jiggles, yeah.
When you were a child, did you think you were going to be an artist?
Yes. Well, it was, if the NBA didn't work out, it was my fallback.
Forgot. Yeah, we played basketball. You're like a stick bug. Strong.
That was my name in high school, stick bug.
I forgot you were exceptionally good. We played maybe once or twice, but you were very good at basketball, right?
I used to be.
Like, how good are we talking? Is that a joke if the NBA didn't work out? Because you're pretty tall, right?
I think I probably need to be a little taller.
I mean, Muggsy Bogues is out there.
That's true. That's true. I was not. I don't know. I was not committed enough, maybe, to be Muggsy Bogues.
I like the artist sportsman dynamic because I relate to that. I've always found that an interesting and rare breed. When I went to art school, it was like I had to rally the troops just to get a wall ball game going or any type of physical activity. And I feel like that divide of body and mind is very strange, as if we're supposed to just neglect our bodies while we make art.
Yeah, that's a recipe for disaster.
And I remember you experimenting with some things on fasting, like pretty extreme fasting. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm doing this. I'm doing this like no sugar, no starch, no gluten. It's just kind of becoming my my regular diet right now. Yeah, just trying different stuff out, seeing what works.
That's cool. But I am kind of, so like, at what age? I don't really know your trajectory as an artist in terms of when you started taking it seriously, if you went to school, if you drew as a little kid and people were like, oh, you're good at drawing, you should keep doing this, or if it's something that developed later on.
I think my earliest memories is drawing, and that's pretty much all I did as a kid. Draw these books, and then like I'd tell my grandpa the words, and he'd write the words in. So I got all these like stories from when I was like 4 and 5.
Nice.
And I just kept on making like comic, superheroes, drawing a lot of superheroes. I never went to art school. I kind of got really into drugs in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of drifted around for a while.
Are you still really into drugs?
I wouldn't say not at that clip.
That level?
No. I do like to, indulge in a psychedelic every now and again.
Mm-hmm.
But even with a kid, for me, it's just tough to find the time to
right,
to do that. But there are like, short ones. DMT is pretty quick. You do that on your lunch break. Memories last forever. Yeah, so do what I can.
Yeah, that's interesting. So you drew as a young child, you did drugs for a long time, and then you found your way into just making paintings in the Bay Area?
Oh,
Or is there a phase between that?
There's
Many?
multiple phases. I was like an oil painter for a while.
Like a traditional one?
I mean, in the tradition that I used oil paint.
Yeah.
But I used to do like these really big paintings. This is like when I was around 20. And I had a drug dealer friend who was like super into them. So I'd paint him these paintings and he'd, give me like, quarter pound of weed or whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh man, I can get rid of these and exchange it for things. So then I sort of just started, just trying to show them. But I think at some point I got really, something happened where I started working smaller. And then I was like digging my way into this like, made up world and not really trying to pursue showing them or like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just in my head for like a decade. And I think it's probably coming out of it around the time I met you.
Interesting. Yeah, that show I saw seemed very dense, if I recall correctly. As if someone had been reclusively drawing for quite some time.
Yeah.
And I assume, for me, like my whole life, I don't do drugs. But people always, especially in high school, would talk to me like, you must have been on drugs to make this. And it always pissed me off. This idea to like creatively make anything, you must have been on drugs. But I assume for you that's not it's pretty readily available through the image itself that there's kind of like a acceptance of the drugginess of the drawings, if that makes sense. So surely it doesn't bother you if someone says, were you on drugs when you made this?
No, it doesn't bother me.
But you probably weren't on drugs when you made them, correct?
I probably wasn't.
It's pretty hard to make things on drugs, I assume.
I used to do that a lot, and it was really fun. But I try to just remember as much as I can and just enjoy what you're doing at the moment,
Or would you say these images are trying to transmit that information, those experiences?
A lot of them are memories.
Really?
To the best of my ability, and then sometimes, you got other stuff in your memories too that just work their way inside. So I'd say it's probably like, half.
Yeah.
Half experience and half, whatever's floating around in my dome.
Would you identify as a hippie?
I don't think so.
I only ask because the web address to your shop is New Age Dang Brains.
Oh yeah.
And, I think it's interesting. It's neither here nor there, but like I said, if someone were to identify as such and they like to do drugs and tie-dye, etc., I think it makes a lot more sense than if I were to identify as a hippie or something. But how do you view that movement in general? Or New Age stuff? I'm kind of interested in like if you subscribe to anything or by association you're kind of clumped into something. How you feel about that?
It's funny. I don't know what I'm associated with. I feel like I'm on the edge of all these circles, but not really in one.
That's funny. It's exactly how I describe every good artist I know, is that they're always on the edge of a circle and that they should be really, what would you say, suspicious of those in the center of the circle who just identify as that thing.
Yeah, well, yeah. It's good. It's good for them that they have like a solid identity if that's what works for them.
It's healthy. I think it's healthy. I think they preserve the form and the circle that the artist stands on the outside of. But I don't think they make good art typically because they're reduced to like a category or caricature of the form that they're preserving. They're more like a landmark than an act of creation.
Oh yeah, like a welcome sign.
Exactly. You're at the punk show because you just saw that guy dressed like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And such an interesting commonality that I hear, like that kind of hovering on the outside of the category, like a gargoyle on the outside of a church.
Ooh. Yeah, that'd be cool to be a gargoyle.
I mean, I think their function is essentially to scare other scary things away. I could be wrong, but I believe.
Scarecrow.
Yeah, I take gargoyle over that. No, but the question of like, we invariably are identified with certain things. Our audience kind of forms around us. And then we are in the middle of some circle. It's a different thing, but I think it's interesting. From what I see visually, you own it, There's no shyness about that.
Thanks.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like the identity is clear, I would say, in a good way.
Well, that's good. Then it's all been worth it.
Well, it's not over yet. It's certainly not even far. It's far from over. I forget you are older than I recall, though, because of all the fasting and, I believe I believe you're older than I think.
Yeah.
I think I'm right.
I'm at the end, man.
Yeah, you could be. I mean, I think you even refused to tell me your age because I was like, when did you play basketball? It's like you lived many. Like you could have been an NBA player in the past, for all I know.
That'd be sweet.
And you could be 80. But I don't know that,
Yeah. Yeah, there's that whole Mario Martinez, not to like, if you tell someone your age, then they have an idea of what you're supposed to be too. So.
Who's Mario Martinez?
Mario Martinez, he's a epigenologist. Like,
I'm looking him up.
Yeah.
Neuropsychologist?
Neuropsychologist. Like epigenetics and like.
Nice.
And he works with like centenarians, people over 100.
Those hundreds,
yeah. Seeing how they
that's cool.
Function.
So what age do you want to live to? You pick an age.
You're
going all the way?
I could go all the way.
What do you think?
What's all the way?
I think it's just dying, honestly. Pretty sure that's it. You into like transhumanism and being disembodied and all that? You think that's a good...
Putting yourself into a computer chip?
I mean, just the concept of being divorced from the body and trying to, transcend its limitations as if it's some dirty shell to cast aside. Obviously, I don't like the idea, but...
Well, I think that's like kind of like you're going to be doing that anyway. So...
That's my point.
I think people are scared of just really what's going to happen. And they're trying to just do the same thing, but in like a more, so they can maintain some type of control. But
yeah, I mean, I'm sure you're a man who's died many times.
It feels that way.
Yeah.
Even when I didn't want to. Yeah.
What do you got next? What are you working on next?
I'd like to gear myself more towards like some children's books.
I was going to say that I really like this alphabet poster, and I think that's the most sustainable way to keep making work when you have a child is, to acknowledge you have a child and make things for them and with them, and basically just accept you are in that next phase.
Yeah,
you have the child. So I like this poster, and I think it's very interesting where where art goes when you're stripped of that coolness in a sense, you know? Like, I don't think people think having kids are cool, especially in the art community, but I think it can be cool.
Yeah, until you have one, then you're like, well, this is like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, I mean, I think I just want to hear more positive dialogue about children. I think it's like there's a little bit too much. Is there a plague or virus on the earth dialogue going around?
Yeah, I mean,
and it's like how can you say that as a human? And I don't know. There's something very misanthropic about that.
Yeah, because I think they all want to be inside their computer chip and have all the space.
I know. Wouldn't it be, my fear is like, I don't know, it's like a trap, you know, like a Ghostbusters or something where all the people trying to go in that direction are going to get caught in some actual hell that's infinite and disembodied and looping.
That's like a good movie idea right there.
I'm sure somebody's made it. Horrifying. Yeah, but I really like this poster. I think it's a cool step in that direction, that you like kids' books, and I'm particularly fond of The Witch.
Yeah, I like The Witch.
Very, very like that style is real nice, really clear.
Yeah,
the clarity of that line work. The ant's really nice too.
I nailed it with The Witch.
The Witch and the Ant. But The Witch is probably. How do you feel about witches?
I'm into it. I condone it. Yeah, more people should become witches.
It's quite the statement.
They should have their own political party.
I don't think they roll like that. They're too powerful to kind of amass in that kind of overt way. They don't, you know.
That's what we need.
I feel like, are there ever more than 3 witches together? I don't know how they run, but there's more witches than you think, I'm pretty sure. I learned later in life that there was more women I knew casting spells than I had previously known.
Yeah.
I was naive.
Did you ever get spells casted? Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Positive and negative. And there's no doubt. And as a man, I don't even know if I can counterspell. I don't think I can. I don't even know.
You think? You can. Yeah.
Well, it's tricky, man. I don't know. Like, I mean, we don't need to go down the pagan versus Christian route. It's very complicated. But I'm like legit. The way I knew I started to think these things are real is I'm legitimately scared of Crowley and casting spells and sigils. And like, I learned through my fear that I think they're real. I was just like, I'm not touching this. You know, I couldn't be flippant about it. I was like, there's clearly some shit going on
there. Yeah. That's how I felt about aliens when I was a kid.
Huh.
It's like, it have to be real.
You still feel that way about aliens? You're talking about the Greys?
Yeah, the Greys. I think there's probably, definitely some other entities probably visiting more than the Greys, but yeah, extra dimensionals.
Yeah, you got aliens in these paintings, right? I feel like they pop up quite often.
Yeah, there's some alien stuff. Just,
what I like at the progression I'm seeing is that, it's taking, there's the tie-dye, the smiley faces, the hippie symbols. That's kind of why I asked the question, like the pop art of hippie language. Mm-hmm. But I feel like as you progress, they're gaining a new context more.
Yeah, they definitely change. I mean, I think I'm more into like rave culture than hippie culture.
I don't know the distinction.
I think smiley face was like big rave symbol.
Okay.
Yeah, house music is like that speaks to me way more than any noodling on a guitar.
Okay. Yeah, like Jerry Garcia or something.
Yeah, I don't want to name names. But
you still go to raves or no?
It's hard for me to get out much.
I was gonna say, like, I'm not particularly. I don't know if that means you're hedonistic, but like, it sounds like if you were hedonistic, having a child would be kind of a really shocking, difficult transition. But maybe you got it out of your system. I don't know how these things work, but yeah, because like it seems. I don't know. I've been asking myself a lot about. I think I know what a mature, normal person is, but I think the artist has a different challenge in reaching maturity. And of course, because they have to preserve the childlike thing that allows them to make something, make art.
Yeah.
And I think oftentimes people think that means being childish, which is wrong because I know a lot of childish artists. But there is something really appealing to me about that challenge. How do you, be a fully realized adult with responsibilities and a child and a wife and preserve something that seems almost contradictory to it, which I don't believe it is. But that childlike ability to spontaneously play when you sit down to draw. I mean, it sounds like a real, true challenge.
I don't know. I've been like wrapped up in this thing, since I was a kid. So I just do it. It's like if I don't do it, then I get uptight.
Right. You have no choice. So you're gonna find the time.
I'm gonna find the time.
I think that's the truth. Even if you have 5 kids in the end, I think you're gonna find the time.
You'll find the time.
And I truly believe you're gonna use that time very respectfully.
Yeah. And if you don't, then I guess you are how you spend your time.
True.
If you want to watch, I don't know, what show do people watch these days?
I don't know.
Neither do I.
I like movies, but TV is just too much. Just too much. But they know what they're watching out there.
They know.
Well, it was good catching up.
Dude, so good to talk to you.
Yeah. We'll meet again one day.
Yeah, you coming out here anytime?
I think I will. I still have a lot of friends out there. But I'm over here working on this art center in my hometown. Or not my hometown, but the town I live in currently, Rutherford, New Jersey. So we'll get you over here one day. It's going to be a massive project that's hopefully going to serve the community very well. And that's something I think about, like, how can you expand outside of drawing in your room? I was pretty discontent as someone just drawing comics in a room as a human. And I was now and more, it's interested in how do you expand out that kind of sphere of responsibility and influence, whether it be, I run a fabrication and design company with my friend. So for me, that's like a service act more than an expressive thing. And then the art center is like a communal thing. And I think naturally you start wondering, well, child is the next, that's a way to get outside of yourself. Cause I think a lot of harm is done by staying too much inside yourself. And I think that's a weird problem for an artist. They often deteriorate physically as they express these things. The host is just discarded by the parasite, which is the idea. And I guess, I don't think that's inevitable. Maybe I'm being convenient, but I feel like there's a way to do it all, a responsible way, a beautiful way, where you don't have to completely fall apart mentally and physically. And you can foster growth in other people, non-artists. I'm in a suburb, so a suburban community, etc.
Well, I think that's, that sounds like the ideal, noble thing to do.
Yeah,
You know, you want people to be a part of it.
for
I
sure.
think, yeah, I think if you can pass it along and involve people, and then, you know, still not let yourself, fall apart, then you're doing something. You're doing a good thing.
Yeah, sometimes it feels so good to help other people and to facilitate other people making things. I think you have to be careful to not let it satiate your personal expression. But I can already feel that. Like, wow, it feels so nice to step outside myself and help other people. But I still got to remember at the end of the day, there's something to express on my end. And
Yeah.
without that cycle, I'm going to be probably resentful within a year or two, you know? I would
of
guess.
everyone you help.
Oh, yeah, I don't put anything past my immaturity.
I don't put anything past mine either.
But yeah, I will, I'll do my best to come out there soon. For sure.
Right on.
I owe it to the state of California.
I think I read that somewhere.
And if you feel you owe it to the state of New Jersey, which you've probably never been to.
Definitely been deprived of New Jersey.
It's a real deprivation, not sensory deprivation, but it's real.
Garden State.
Yeah, it's not
right?
that either.
No, it's not.
No, it is, but it isn't.
Oh,
yeah. No, but when the center is done, yeah, we're doing a lot of exciting things. You should come through because tonight we're playing board games. It's going to be at least 8 to 10 dweebs playing D&D.
Awesome. That sounds like my kind of party.
Yeah. Then the rest of us dweebs will be playing any kind of board game we like.
No, that sounds like my kind of party.
Oh, yeah. Kids are welcome. We got little kids playing too. We're trying to rebuild the village.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to do here.
Well, you got to get busy then.
Yeah, it's like a micro village. More like Dogtooth.
Oof. That is a wild film.
Yeah, I couldn't do that to anybody. But yeah, man, anytime. I'd love to.
All right. Yeah. So this is the third one I recorded. And I'm just figuring out like the title and the intro music and all that. But I want to make like 10 episodes, about an hour long, and then I'll start releasing them. But so far it's been you, Neve, and my friend Jesse Fillingham. I think you met Jesse.
Yeah. That's awesome. I had a kid.
Yeah. And no, I think it's going well. And I'm trying to just keep it casual while filling people in on artists they might not know. Or if they do know, I hope they get some depth out of it. You know, they can look at the work if they already know your work and see something deeper. But I am also interested in, like, I know you won't disclose your age, but as I get into my 30s, I'm just interested in the path beyond what I view as like a kind of selfish phase in the 20s, where maybe you're collecting the nuts as a squirrel, and maybe that means certain drug experiences, hedonistic experiences, traveling, etc. But I don't think a life like that lived in until you die is a good one per se. I think there has to be the act of transmutation and giving it back. So I'm interested in that phase of artists where how they juggle the reality of providing for other people, whether financially or emotionally, while making their own work without everything suffering around them, you know?
Yeah, it's a good topic.
I think that's going to be my main focus, you know? Like, some people don't have kids, but I still think this reality hits people no matter what, as death feels closer. And the 30s is a really beautiful, I mean, you're about 85, so it's probably hard for you to remember, but it's a beautiful time period.
Yeah, I remember the 30s.
Yeah, the 1930s. You're actually 100. You're the reason you know about that man's work. You're over 100 years old. He's studying you. But maybe we speak again down the line. If I keep it going, I'll keep it going no matter what. But
yeah, man, I really dig how you like great interviewer, great host.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Keeping it casual, you know. I was laying down horizontal.
Oh, cool.
My spine was at probably a 30-degree angle.
That's a good angle.
Yeah, I'm not very. I'm vertical for sports, squatting for art making, and horizontal for most of the day.
Dude, I know, man. I sit in this rickety chair.
Oh yeah, I hate desks.
I really like messed myself up. Like,
oh yeah,
getting like leg problems, just from like drawing so long and not moving around.
It's tough.
Yeah,
it's tough. It's so sedentary life is difficult. I've been trying. I boulder. Was playing soccer last week. The ice baths, man, they're no joke. Wim knows what's up.
Yeah. So you just like, what do you just get a cold bath and then dump some ice in there?
I don't have a bath, so I bought this like $50 plastic tub, and I make where ice cubes, and then I fill it up, and I'm not spending like hundreds of dollars on ice.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna perfect the system soon, but for now it's pretty simple and cheap. But I get it to around like 40 degrees, and you get in there for 10 minutes, and you just I don't know. It's a very amazing feeling. I like the extremeness, right? Like sensory deprivation for my kind of mind is probably too subtle. Kind of have like an overly active mind, but when you get in that ice, it just kind of really forces the issue.
Yeah.
And the breathing, it's like about that deep breathing.
Oh man, I want to try this.
Well, when you come through, I'll have perfected it by then, for sure. And I too will be near immortal.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah, nearly. All right, have a good night. Good talking.
Hey, you too.
Thank you for listening. Music by Dory Bavarsky and Mingja Chen. Next week we've got Ian Meltzer. Hope to see you then.